All right, everyone, welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 8 recap. 8 weeks in the book already. So that's 5 more to go in the regular season. Starting to get set for the playoff push here. We had an interesting week. Only 2 teams went over 200 points this week. And we actually had several kind of lower scores than usual this week. What else is interesting? We ended up with, we currently now have 5 teams, all at 4-4 after this week. So the push for the playoffs, the race to those last couple playoff spots are going to be it's going to be a fun race to watch here. Let's see. So I think we can safely say that the Isotopes and Gags to Riches are going to be in the playoffs. And Disco looking pretty good for him. So I think I said this before. Those 3, at least half of the playoff spots are already going to be called for. And like I said, those 4-4 teams still got Shawshank at 3-5. He could still turn it around with a couple wins. Maybe stay in the race there. He's not out of it yet. Possum Magic and FC Bahorik. You guys basically need to win out your schedules to have any chance. While Juju and the losers, the White Wolf, I believe he's definitely looking towards 2019. Let's see. Fortunately for Possum and FC Bahorik, they do not play each other. They must have already, let's see, when did they play each other? Week 7. So you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to worry about winning the rest of your schedule. Like I said, there's 5 weeks left. You need to get to 7 wins, and you've got 2. So those numbers, I believe, work out that you have to win the rest of your schedule. So we'll see what happens there. Shawshank, you're only 1 game ahead of them, so you need to win 4 out of 5 to probably have a chance. Although, again, last year we had, 2 teams make the playoffs that were 6-7. Only 4 teams last year, as you may remember, were over 500 in the standings there. So it's shaping out to possibly go that way again this year. So we'll see what happens. So there's always that kind of possibility, I think, whenever the standings, like the people, it's very top heavy, where you kind of have some people pulling away, and then a big crowd in the middle there. So it's going to be a fun race to the playoffs, and we'll see who makes it and who doesn't. Anything can happen really in these next few weeks. Lots of bye weeks coming up too. We've had we've had a couple weeks of byes already, but I don't think they've caused too much trouble in terms of superstars being out. But I think these next couple weeks are going to be a little bit tricky. I know they are for me, and they probably will be for several other people. So things are going to stay interesting, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. So let's get down to the results of Week 8. We had the defending champion Springfield Isotopes going up against Hillbillies on PCP. Hillbillies trying to give Isotopes their first defeat. They were unable to do it this week. Final score 204.15 to 168.6. For the Isotopes, we had Mahomes at 55, Tyreek Hill 10, AJ Green 18.5, Doug Baldwin 4.5, James White 25.5, Tariq Cohen, he had a long touchdown bonus there, so he actually had 21. Greg Olson 15.5, Gurley 36.5, Mason Crosby about 12.5, and then the Jets defense, I believe Yahoo is correct there with 5. It's only 5 points there. But a couple of big scores there was enough to get the Isotopes over 200 and past Hillbillies on PCP, who were kind of hoping to maybe pull it out on Monday night with Tom Brady and Josh Gordon, although the Isotopes did have James White Excuse me. And as you know, he's one of Tom Brady's favorite receiving targets, so he was able to accumulate enough points there to fend off Brady and Gordon, although Gordon didn't really do too much. Let's see, we had Tom Brady going for 49 and Gordon for 8. Then we had Crabtree and Golladay going for 6 and 2. Running backs, David Johnson and Christian McCaffrey, 14 and 21.5. Ebron is tight end, just under 13. Then our flexes, it was Gurley versus Antonio Brown. You're not going to get a much better matchup than that. And Antonio Brown, he did have 2 touchdowns, but he was at 25.4 to Gurley's 36 there. So, hey, you'll take 25 points from Antonio Brown anytime, any week, even though it wasn't enough to get you a victory this week. Let's see. Then you had Butker. I believe he went for about 4.5. And then the Steelers defense, Yahoo says 16. It was probably, let's see. I think you had about 10 or so extra points, something like that, maybe 9 or 10 from them. So the actual total was probably about 25. I want to guess something like that. But anyway, said a lot too many single-digit scores there for the Hillbillies on PCP to keep pace with the Isotopes this week. The Hillbillies on PCP, he drops to 4 and 4. He's one of several, and he is in 7th place. So still, you're down, but you're not out of it. That's for sure. And like I said, the Isotopes remain undefeated in 1st place at 8 and 0. How long will that continue? Probably not much longer. All right, next up, we had the basement battle, FC Bohoric versus the White Wolf. And FC Bohoric was able to squeak this one out. Final score, 150.7 to 130.6. So for FC Bohoric, let's see, we had Andy Dalton going for 44. Let's see, Marquise Goodwin, Keelan Cole, and DJ Moore were his receivers. 12.5, 2, and 18 respectively. Kareem Hunt, another good game. Kind of, compared to how he's been, it was kind of a quiet game. He only had 19.5 points. Still pretty good. But it was Adrian Peterson who went off this week for you. 2 touchdowns, 150 rushing yards. He got you almost 30 points. Gronk, only 7 points, 7.5 points there. You played tight end Uzomah from the Bengals in your flex. Unfortunately, he managed to get a 0. But fortunately, it did not cost you a victory here. I guess that's only fair because I see that Njoku for the White Wolf also scored 0 there. Your kicker Bailey, he only got you 1 point. And the Rams defense, I think Yahoo says 14, but they did give up a lot of points and yards there. They had a safety there that helps you. I think their score was probably closer. Yahoo says 14. It's probably about mid to low 20s, though. Enough to get past the White Wolf here. Let's take a look at his lineup. I think he had some bye week issues this week as well. Let's see, some injury problems. A lot of didn't have any trust in his Packers receivers coming back yet. No faith in Matthew Stafford anymore. But let's see. He had Case Keenum at quarterback, an even 40 points. Michael Thomas, D.D. Westbrook, and Juju Smith-Schuster, 13, 12, and 7.5 respectively. Running backs, Frank Gore, and you had to play Jordan Wilkins. Gore, 6.8, and Wilkins, only 1.5. It looks like you didn't have many other options there with your running back spot because the only running back you have on your bench was Freeman, and he is hurt. So, wow, you really only have 3 running backs on your entire roster, Jimmy. I'm not sure how you managed to end up in that situation, but that is definitely not a good one to be in, especially as we head down the stretch here. Like I said, Njoku, the tight end, he scored 0, unfortunately. Sutton in the flex, he had 10.8. Boswell, your kicker, he got you about 8 or 9. And then good play here, Redskins defense. It looks like they had 7 sacks. Did pretty well, a couple turnovers. Yahoo says 19. It was probably closer to 30, something like that. They did pretty well for you. But unfortunately, Keenum and the Redskins defense, were most of the points for you. Your buttons were pretty solid, as Josh would say this week, but the stuff in the middle wasn't didn't get you too far there. Definitely FC Bohoric's score was definitely beatable, but unfortunately a lot of issues there with your lineup up and down, bye weeks, injuries, things like that, and it wasn't enough to get it done here against FC Bohoric. So unfortunately for the White Wolf, he slips to 0-8. He is in 12th place, while FC Bohoric, he moves up to 2-6. But unfortunately for him, he is right there with the White Wolf in 11th place. Next up, we had a really close one that really could have gone either way based on a lot of different factors. This was Gags to Riches versus the Bad Luck Bears. And the Bad Luck Bears definitely had their fill of bad luck this week as Gags to Riches squeaks this one out. Final score 192.05 to 189.1. So just a 3-point margin of victory there for just under 3 for Gags to Riches. Let's take a look at what happened here for Gags. He had on Sunday night Kirk Cousins and Latavius Murray versus Drew Brees for the Bad Luck Bears. Let's see if there were any other. That was Saints and Vikings. I don't think the Bears had any. Just had Drew Brees, and looks like you just had Cousins and Murray. Let me see if I can figure it out in my notes here. Let's see. No, unfortunately, I did not figure out what the difference was there before the Sunday night game. But let's see. So Gags, let's go down his lineup here real quick. Cousins ended up with 57.25. Your receivers: Alshon Jeffrey, Dante Moncrief, and Devontae Adams. 7.5, 9.5, and 18.5. Barkley and Murray were your running backs, 20 and 20.5 respectively. Travis Kelce, just under 20. Snead in the flex, 10.5. Zerline, your kicker, got you about 8 or 9. And then the Chiefs defense, Yahoo says 14. It was probably closer to mid to low 20s. So let's see. And I think the very last drive of the game was Cousins, and so the Vikings. I think they were pretty much out of. They were down 10 points. They really had no chance to really do much of anything. They needed 2 scores. I think there was probably less than a minute to go, but Cousins completed a couple passes there. I actually think 2 of them were to Latavius Murray in that the most garbage of garbage times there, and got just enough points to squeak this one out over Bad Luck Bears. Perhaps, though, the biggest factor, if we look at the Bad Luck Bears score, is, and it stands out like a sore thumb here, Drew Brees also in that game. Excuse me, Drew Brees only got you 25 points. Is that the lowest point total he's had this season? Yes, it is. Yeah. So you really only needed a 30 point. I'm sorry, Jay. I feel for you here. You only needed a 30-point performance from Drew Brees to get a win this week, and he was unable to get it for you, even though you had, I think, two long touchdown bonuses, which definitely made a difference there. Mike Evans and Will Fuller. So those were 6 extra points for you, but you were unable to take advantage. Let's take a look at your receivers then. Cooks, Mike Evans, and Sterling Shepard. 11.5. Said Evans, he had an extra 3, so he got you actually about 36. Pretty good there. I think that just about outscores Gags' receivers all by himself there, Mike Evans. And then Shepard went for 7.5. James Conner and LeGarrette Blount, who you picked up for a lot of money, I think, off of waivers. Jay likes to, whenever you make you don't make a lot of moves, but when you do, you throw around the cash like you own the place. But the Blunt only got you 3.5. I think you were in pretty much desperate need of a running back this week, thanks to bye week issues there. And bye week and injury looks like Riddick was hurt. So you needed somebody. He got you some points. You would have liked to get a little bit more. Said almost anything goes differently, gets you a little bit more points there for the Bears. And this matchup goes the other way. So James Conner, you're unfortunately wasting a 41.2 point performance this week. Jimmy Graham, your tight end, only 3 points. I see that he only had 1 catch for 21 yards. And having watched this game, maybe some of you did as well. I can't help but remember that I think maybe it was the first drive of the game, or it was very early on. Jimmy Graham, it was originally a touchdown catch. Like, he caught it. He was at the goal line. His butt landed on the goal line, and it looked like a touchdown to me. Like, the ball looked like it broke the plane. Even if it was only just a little bit, that's all you need. But they said that the ball did not break the plane, and they must have given the Packers the ball at like the 1-inch line. And so he did not get that touchdown, which you definitely could have used here. And unfortunately, that was his. I don't know how in that game that was Jimmy Graham's only catch of the game. But that's the way it goes. In the flex, said you had Will Fuller. He got you a long touchdown, but unfortunately for you, he tore his ACL. He's done for the season. So he might be a stretch. So at this point of the year, he might be kind of a stretch to make it back for the beginning of next year. That's probably the earliest that he could be back. He might not. Said he probably won't. Might not be ready for training camp next year, considering that we're halfway through the regular season. He might be back. He might not. We'll see what happens with him there. But he is definitely done for the year, unfortunately for you. Let's see, then your kicker was Hopkins. He got you about 10. And the Bears defense did pretty good. Yahoo says 7, but I think it was a lot more than that. I always can never remember exactly for sure, but you can always, I don't like jumping around here, but I can go back. And you can usually tell what the defensive score was based on, I don't think you can see it on the Yahoo app, but you can do it online here on the computer. Maybe if you're on an iPad, if you're on Safari or something, you can see where I've adjusted the point totals. And the Bad Luck Bears point total, he actually got an extra 25 points. 6 of those came from those long touchdowns, though. So you probably got actually about an extra 15, somewhere between 15 to 19 points from your defense there. But like I said, all those numbers just didn't quite add up to getting a victory over Gags here. So that's a tough one for you, Bad Luck Bears. You are 4-4, but can't feel too bad because you are in 4th place with that 4-4. As for Gags to Riches, he moves up to 7-1. He is on a 7-game win streak. I think he lost in week 1, and it's been all uphill from there, I guess, or downhill. I'm not sure which way he's going. He's definitely going up. He's going up the standings, so we'll say it's been all uphill since then. So 7-game win streak so far, pretty good. He is in 2nd place. Okay, next matchup we had Disco versus the Shawshank Athletics. This one could have gone either way as well. Kind of another sort of kind of I want to say a pitiful performance, but it was pretty disappointing on both sides there. I'd have to say, as Disco, but somebody's got to win, and it was Disco this week by the score of 140.4 to 123.4. So a 17-point difference there. Let's take a look at the winner, which was Disco. His quarterback, Jameis Winston, despite throwing 4 interceptions and getting benched in the middle of that game, he got you 25.5 points. Beckham Jr., Stephon Diggs, and is it Jakeem Grant? Yeah. From the newly acquired from the Dolphins there after Albert Wilson went down. Beckham went for 21.5. Diggs had a good game. He went for 28. And Grant got you 7.5. Your big free agent splash was last week Kenyon Barner. He got you half of a point. And Marlon Mack finally coming back from those injuries. He was your keeper. One of your keepers, as some people may have forgotten about. He has been on a tear ever since he came back. He had another 32 points this week. Tight end Jordan Reed, 10.5. Traquan Smith, wide receiver for the Saints in your flex, about 4.5 points. Gostowski, your kicker, got you about 12.5. And then I believe we mentioned this already on the lineup. We actually had two defenses this week who scored -3, and one of them was the Baltimore Ravens defense here for you. They have been all over the map this year. I think this is their second week, at least, where they got you either 0 or negative points here. But yeah, you lost 3 points from the Ravens D because they had no sacks, no turnovers, gave up too much of everything, and yeah, we had to cut off 3 points there. Well, fortunately for you, it did not cost you the victory, as Shawshank Athletics had a pretty just a lot of. I'm looking at his lineup here, and like I said, as I am wont to say, a lot of single-digit scores I'm seeing here, and that is usually not a good sign. Shawshank, he had Trubisky in this week, which I think was actually the better play over Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, just barely. Trubisky went for 40. Your wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton, Devin Funchess, and Taylor Gabriel. The Trubisky-Gabriel connection, looking for something there. Hilton, 4.5. Funchess, 5.5. And Gabriel, 9.2. Running backs, Kerryon Johnson and Nick Chubb. Johnson, 15, and Chubb, 9.5. Your new tight end, Zach Ertz, he got you 12.5. Crowell in the flex, only 4.8. He's been pretty quiet after that 200-yard explosion he had a couple weeks ago. So let's see. Then kicker Fairbairn, he had no field goals, just PATs there. He got you 6. And then the Jacksonville defense continuing to slide. Yahoo says 13. It was probably right around there. I think they did okay in terms of yardage. They had a couple sacks, a couple turnovers, even though they lost the game. The actual total was probably 18 or 19, maybe something in that ballpark there. But not enough to get past Disco. He moves to 6-2. He is in third place, while Shawshank Athletics could have been 4-4, but he drops to 3-5. He is right below that pile of 4-4s. He is in 9th place. Oh, also, with that score of 123.4, I should mention, Josh, the Shawshank Athletics, were eliminated from the knockout pool this week. So, sorry there, Josh. Maybe next year. Next matchup, we had Space Antelope versus the Dub C Hooligans. Space Antelope, as we know, had the 0-3 Blues, and he has climbed his way back up with going 4-1 ever since. He's now even. He's one of those 4-4 teams. And he moved up to the 4-4, while he dropped Kevin to 4-4. Final score here, 223.6 to 161.95. For Space Antelope, he already had the victory secured going into Monday night. He had the Patriots defense and Julian Edelman. I believe those two combined for almost 60 points. Taking a look at my notes there. Yeah, I think that it was just under 60 between those two. Patriots defense had a pick six that was a long touchdown, so you got a lot of points from that play. Let's see, it would be 3, 6, 12 point play there on the long pick six there. So that put you well over 200, and you were the highest scorer of the week. Let's take a look at your lineup. Russell Wilson, 40. DeAndre Hopkins, Julian Edelman, and Larry Fitzgerald. Hopkins and Fitzgerald both had the same score, 26.2, and Edelman had 20.7. So over between 20 to 25 points from all three wide receivers. That's going to get it done more often than not. Was that Larry Fitzgerald's best week of the season? Let's see. Oh, yes. By 10 points or so. He had his highest score was 14.5 previously. Perhaps the changing of their offensive coordinator there to Byron Leftwich might be just the remedy that they needed, which it's going to make an interesting decision there for Space Antelope. He's got Julio he had Julio on a bye this week. Didn't even need him. So now you've got 4 wide receivers. You're probably going to be putting Larry Fitzgerald back on the bench. So we'll see what happens. I think Hopkins and Edelman still have their bye weeks coming up. So does Larry Fitzgerald, if I am thinking correctly. Yeah, so you said you got 4 of those guys. You're going to need all of them with some bye week problems. But once the bye weeks are out of the way, it's going to be interesting to see how you fix your starting lineup each week with those guys, the excess of wide receivers there. So let's move on to running backs. Phillip Lindsay and Mostert from the 49ers. 20 points from Lindsay and only 1.5 from Mostert. Kittle, another 49er, is your tight end. He got you 10.7. You traded for Lamar Miller. He got you 22.3 in the flex. Your kicker, Lutz from the Saints, he got you about, he had a pretty good game here. He got you 16, maybe 17 points. And like I said, the Patriots defense, they must have gotten you, like I said, you had almost 60 points. So there was about an extra 15 to 18 extra points added on from their defense there. So put you well up over 200. Let's take a look at the Dub C Hooligans. He went with Andrew Luck at quarterback, 46 or 47.75. I think that was a last minute change, going away from Goff. Didn't cost you here. Actually, Goff scored about half of a point more than Luck did. But they're pretty even, so wasn't really going to make much of a difference there. Let's see. Like I said, 47.75. Receivers, John Brown, Tyler Lockett, and Robert Woods. Quite a piece together. It's almost like a tree-sized lineup here. These no big names, but they tend to get the job done. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes they do. So John Brown, Lockett, and Woods, 5.8, 12.7, and 12 respectively. Mixon and Doug Martin, your running backs. Mixon went for almost 32. Looks like he had a couple of touchdowns and over 100 yards. So good game for him. You're probably hoping for a little bit more from Doug Martin. Now that he is, I want to say the feature back, but he's probably the number 1. He might not be the pass-catching running back in the Oakland Raiders offense there, but you're probably hoping for a little bit more. Looks like he got you 9. O.J. Howard, almost 17. Chris Thompson in the flex, you're probably hoping for a little bit more there. He only got you 4.2. Field goals, your kicker. Why did I start saying field goals? Your kicker, Tucker, so he had no field goals. He only had PATs. He got you 3. And the Arizona defense, Yahoo says 10. I think it was a little bit more than that, probably about 16-ish, 18, something like that. But not enough to get past Space Antelope, who, like I said, had the highest score in the league this week. He moved. He moved up to 4-4. He is actually in sixth place, while Dubsy, excuse me, Dubsy Hooligans dropped to 4-4. He is actually, with that loss, he is even though he's 4-4, he is in eighth place. So you must be at the bottom of that pile of 4-4 teams there. Okay, that's it for that one. Is this the final matchup? Yes. Final matchup, Mighty Midgets versus Possum Magic. Mighty Midgets had been on a slide. I think he lost 3 in a row. Needed to get back on track here. Possum Magic was trying to avoid getting loss number 6 and really staying in the playoff hunt now. And so the Midgets was able to get the victory here, 185.25 to 171.9. So even though Possum, you had a pretty good day for your team there, it wasn't quite enough. And so now you're 2-6, 6 losses there. Just like I said before, you are on life support as far as the playoffs go, and you essentially have to win out and get a lot of help. You and Justin have to win out your schedule and get a lot of help along the way to make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens here. 185 to 171. So Mighty Midgets, he had Roethlisberger 42.5, receivers Thielen, Godwin, and Amendola 23, 7.5, and 15.5 respectively. Running backs Kamara and Chris Carson. No Zeke this week. No Zeke, no problem. Kamara went for 26.5, and Carson, he was over 100 yards. He got you 23.5. Tight end, Cook, 17.5. Sammy Watkins in your flex, he had 2 touchdowns on 8 catches. He actually got you 30.5 points, so perhaps he was probably the biggest factor here in terms of getting Mighty Midgets that victory. Prater, only PATs, no field goals. He only got you 2. And I did say that there were 2 teams with defenses that scored -3 this week. And both teams still won. And here we are, Mighty Midgets. You had the Miami Dolphins defense. Yahoo says 0. Unfortunately, for you, it was actually -3. But it did not cost you a win here. Like I said, both these teams who scored negative points from their defense both still managed to win. So how does that... interesting. Let's take a look here. Possum Magic went with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, 37 points. Let's see. What did Watson get? Watson had a long touchdown, so he would have gotten you 52. Let's see. So that would have been an extra 14. I think you would have won this matchup if you had started Deshaun Watson, because that would have been an extra, 16? Yeah. You would have squeaked this one out. Thanks to the long touchdown bonus. If you had gone with Deshaun Watson this week. But you went with the matchup play for Mayfield, said 37 points. Didn't quite work out. Let's see. You rolled the dice, I guess we could say. And unfortunately, it didn't hit. Receivers, Jarvis Landry, Emmanuel Sanders, and Tyler Boyd. 12, 9, and 28.5. Another big game for Boyd. He's definitely, I think I keep saying this pretty much every week, he has been worth all the fab money that you spent on him. Unfortunately, it hasn't been resulting in wins for you. Let's see, your newly acquired running backs, Richard, and Kenyon Drake from Space Antelope there. 14.5 for Richard and 23.5 for Kenyon Drake. So that's kind of interesting. The first week that you pick up Kenyon Drake, and he has the best week, the second best week of the season by 1 point there. And what did Richard do? That was Richard's best week of the season. Well, he had a little bit more in week 1 there. Must have been all from receiving stats because I'm not seeing I'm only seeing 24 rushing yards there. So both of them had the second best weeks of their seasons this week for you. Tight end Trey Burton, unfortunately only 5 points there. Golden Tate in the flex. I see he's now a Philadelphia Eagle. Interesting. Like there were a bunch of moves made here this today as I think it was the the trade deadline. It's either today or tomorrow for the NFL there. I think it might have been today because tomorrow's Halloween. I don't think it was Halloween. But anyway, 12 and a half points for Tate. Bullock, your kicker, looks like a couple PATs and one field goal. He got you about 7.5. And then Carolina Panthers defense did pretty well. Let's see, against Baltimore there. Yahoo says 14. I actually think it was closer to 30. Like they did pretty well for you. So you got a couple decent scores there. 37, 28, 23, and whatever the Panthers defense was. But a couple of kind of lower scores there. Said 171, it's a respectable score. Last year it would have been pretty good. This year it's kind of mediocre in mid-level. It could get you a win, it could get you a loss. Now that we're counting all the points here. But unfortunately for Possum Magic, you needed this one, and you weren't able to get it. Mighty Midgets, he needed this one as well, but somebody had to win, and it was him. He moves up to 4-4. He is in 5th place. And like I said, Possum Magic 2-6. He is in 10th place. So where are we at? 36 minutes or so, I see. I said Shawshank Athletics were eliminated from the knockout pool this week. That leaves Disco, Mighty Midgets, the Isotopes, and who else? One person left. Midgets, Isotopes, Bad Luck, the Bears. Jay is still in, I believe, right? Let me take a look at my list here. Yeah. Isotopes, Bad Luck Bears, Mighty Midgets, and Disco. Those 4 teams still in it. We'll have to see if the Bad Luck Bears make it all the way to the last week of the knockout pool, because they're one of the teams who likes to try to split the pot there. Let's see. I think I mentioned this on the lineup before, but still, I'll also post something about it on the message board here. Give you guys my address. I think teams that still have not paid their dues are both Huber brothers. I think Gags and Tree. I think Tree paid me. Did he? Did you? I can't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure there's 4 people who still didn't pay yet, and I think Gags and the Hubers are 3 of them. Forget. I want to say it's Possum Magic, but I'm not sure off the top of my head who it was. But anyway, I will look that up. Perhaps put something in the lineup and or on the message board here. Like I said, also put on the lineup today. Was thinking about this earlier in the season. I don't know why it never occurred to me before that I could have done this, because I know people ask every now and then, like, what's the highest quarterback score that we've ever had? What's this and that? Highest scores? And it's always been kind of tricky because once the season ends on Yahoo, they pretty much shut down access to most of the information, the week-to-week information, other than you can see what your total score of each matchup was. You can't go back and see what each player scored, things like that. You can see the draft results, you can see your final rosters, and what the playoff results were, and what your scores were every week of the season, but you can't go back and look at individual matchups. So, and I said I don't know why it's ever dawned on me before that you can, on my Mac here, you can screen cap. So I figured out how to do it. Didn't take too long. Once I got the hang of it, it's actually pretty easy, pretty quick to get done. And I was also trying to think of something, 2 different things at 2 different times here. Was also recently trying to think of because I had actually started doing the screen caps, I think the first 3 weeks of the season. then kind of forgot about it. Then it came up again. I was thinking about it, but then I was also thinking about what could we do with the Tonto's Demise Facebook page, because it really doesn't. No one ever really does post anything on there. Now that we have the Line app, it really doesn't do too much. It's kind of just the Facebook page is kind of just sitting there. And I thought, well, why don't we put these two things together? And so this way we have kind of a visible record of what every week's matchup is, just in case, like you. So if you want to go back and see, like, well, what was the highest quarterback score from that year, or what was I can tell you that off the top of my head, at the top, I think about 95-ish is the top score that we ever had for a quarterback. I believe it was Drew Brees a couple years ago. But like I said, it would be nice to have that matchup to be able to actually go back and look and see without having to figure out when it was, because I don't remember off the top of my head. I think different things like that, like whatever. I can't remember what year it was when I think it was Jamal Charles in the first round of the playoffs had. I think I actually have it written down here. It's been sitting here by my desk with my football stuff here. 12/15/2013, so 5 years ago. Jamal Charles scored 62.5 points. I think that was the day that he had like 5 touchdowns or something crazy for Tree Size, and he knocked Gags out of the playoffs that year. But I mean, there's no other way. If I didn't have that written down, and I'm pretty sure that's the highest running back score we've ever had, even with all the Todd Gurley stuff last year in the playoff stretch there. I think that's the highest score, because it was, I think, then one year, I think Jimmy had Le'Veon Bell, but I think he was out of the playoffs and didn't really matter. But Le'Veon, because I have 2 scores written down here, Le'Veon and Jamal Charles, because Le'Veon went for 56.8, which is higher than anything I think that Gurley has done. But those were, I mean, the point is, those high scores that were kind of like, people are like, well, what's the highest score we ever had in Tonto's? And like, nobody knows. And they ask me, I'm like, well, I don't always know for sure. So the point is, every week, from now, as long as I can, from now on, starting with this season, I will screen cap the final matchups from every week and put those 6 photos into a post on the Tonto's Facebook page. So now that they will be there for posterity. And maybe like at the end of the season, maybe I will like go back and figure out what the highest point totals were for each position through the course of the season there. Maybe just post a little something just so that that information is easily accessible. It may not really matter, no one really may care now, but maybe a couple, who knows? Oop, my screensaver came up. Maybe a couple years from now, you might just feel, you might be curious about some of that, some of those numbers, looking up some of that stuff. Maybe also you can always look back and maybe see what you did, see what you did right, see what you did wrong, see what other people did. It'll just be a good information source, I think, there. So that's going to start happening going forward with the Tonto's Facebook page. So hopefully that's something that people will get. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but somewhere down the line, maybe you'll get some use out of that and be maybe just appreciate that it's there. So one little thing for the league. Let's see. Is there anything else to talk about? I think, again, there will be no podcast this week as Detling is going away. So they're on their second bye week this year. I see we're at about 45 minutes here, so take a quick look here at the matchups coming up here in week 9. How convenient that the podcasters are on bye this week, because they are playing each other. They are both 4-4. They both need to win this matchup, and it's going to be a good one. So it's disappointing to miss out on hearing what they have to say going into this matchup. So that's unfortunate. But I believe that said of the 4-4 teams, they are the only two that are playing each other. So we've got the Midgets, Bad Luck Bears, and Dub C Hooligans all going against other teams. So they still got a chance to get. They all have a chance to get to 5-4. No definite 4-5 from one of them there. So, see, we've got Disco trying to knock off the Isotopes. That should be a pretty good matchup. Said Mighty Midgets, he's going against the White Wolf. Not going to say that that's a guaranteed win, but looking pretty good there. In a situation where the Midgets need to get a win. Schedule is friendly for you there. Bad Luck Bears, he's going against Possum Magic. He needs to get the win as well. So everyone who's 4-4, I'm sure, wants to get that victory. You're going against Possum Magic. So even though he's 2-6, he's still able to put up pretty good scores, and he is no cakewalk there. Won't be easy to get past him, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, there's a lot of projections. A lot of the projections are pretty low right now, so I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of bye week issues for people this week. Then we got Dub C versus FC Bahoric, another match of 4-4 versus 2-6. Said FC Bahoric, so this is must win for you. Dub C Hooligans said you want to get above 500. You both need this matchup, so that'll be fun to watch anytime. Both, pretty much from here on out, I think most teams need to win their matchups here, even if they're going against each other. Shawshank versus Gags. Said Shawshank, he doesn't want to get his loss number 6. He wants to try and knock off Gags and his winning streak. See, his projection is Josh's projection is pretty low right now. So this is a matchup though that you probably need to win. Not you won't be out of it, but you'll be in dire straits if you lose again this week. So we'll see what happens there. Said Gags, he's been on a roll. You're going to try to end his win streak. See what happens. It'll be fun to watch. So all these matchups are going to be fun. And then finally, the last one again is Hillbillies versus Space Antelope. Said both those teams 4-4. Someone's looking for their 5th win. So, both of them want to get it. So it's going to be another good week to watch. Said most of these matchups are teams. All the teams need to get a win. So, but only half of us can get wins this week. So it's going to be another great week to watch. And I think that is about it. We got every Tuesday night into Wednesday morning is as always the free agent pool. So don't know too many moves that'll be going on this week, but it'll be interesting to watch though, because can't help but notice, because it is my matchup. Disco, he is in a kind of a quarterback bind because Winston is getting benched and Eli Manning is on bye, and your fab budget is extremely low. So that means you need a quarterback. Hopefully, I mean, there's a couple available, but like I said, your budget is extremely low, and with Fitzpatrick and I'm not even sure who else is available out there, so it's might be a little bit tricky there for Disco to pick up somebody who he can get good production from. Who he's going to end up with, he's got to get somebody. Maybe he won't even make a move and just wait and see who falls into his lap for free tomorrow morning. But we'll see. As of right now, Disco has no quarterback going up against the Isotopes here, so I'm sure that'll change within the next 24 hours here. So other than that, in terms of free agency, I don't really think there's going to be too much action going on. This match, pretty much every matchup this week is going to be important to the playoff stretch. So we'll see what happens. And all right, I think that is about it. All right, week 9. Here we are, week 9 already. beginning of November. So tomorrow's Halloween, so enjoy your Halloween, everybody. We'll see you back here again next week. Good luck to all your teams. May no one get hurt and everyone exceed their expectations. So, all right, see you guys here back again next week. Thanks for watching. To the 2 or 3 people who probably watched or listened here. So, all right, guys, see you back here again next week. Thanks.